Hello, Paula. I have a question about climate. According to the World Health Organization, more than 1,300 Europeans have died because of the brutal heat wave that has descended upon the continent. The extreme temperatures have reignited the debate, the divisive debate on air conditioning or the lack thereof across Europe. Does the European Commission support air conditioning as a measure to combat this extreme weather? Do you think it's effective and should be expanded? Or do you think air conditioning actually worsens the problem by releasing hot air and driving up power demand? Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge. Yes, we have seen that last week's heat wave, which was pretty much unprecedented in Europe, has led to fatalities, to tragedies, to the loss and probably premature loss of lives, which just reminds us of the importance of our climate policy, of the importance of the energy transition and all the policies that we have been putting forward, notably in terms of, for instance, the transition away from fossil fuels. It was just a very stark reminder of the many policies that we have been putting into place. Now, on your very specific question regarding air conditioning, we do know that in many instances it is required to really achieve some needed quality of the environment to be able to work, to be able to rest. And we've seen how much also those systems were impacted. And that's why we've been also preparing along with our member states. And that's where also Anna Kaiser can remind us of the measures, not only that we have put in place, but that we are also further preparing precisely in terms of climate resilience. Anna Kaiser.
I doubt we have a particular view or position on air conditioning, but where we do have policies in place and where we are taking action, it concerns the building stock of the European Union, of member states, which is, as we know, most residential buildings and apartments in the European Union do not have air conditioning. It's not something that it's traditionally inbuilt, especially given that much of our housing stock is actually quite old and aged. So in this context, our heating and cooling policy is something that looks into these as well when there are larger renovations going on in member states. It's part of something that is being looked into as part of the housing policy that we have in place as well and that we are currently developing. So yes, heating and cooling measures we do have in the Commission, in the European Union, that we have in place, because obviously it's not just an issue of cooling the apartments. It is also we are faced. Many European Union member states are faced with a lengthy heating period as well, where the apartments also have to be heated. So we do have policies in place, but whether we have a position on air conditioning, pro or contra, not really, but we do tackle this as one policy area which relates to renovation of and energy efficiency of buildings and residential apartments, as well as part of our housing strategy.
Yes, Jorge, you have a follow-up.
Yes, thank you for the background. But don't you think that the time has come for you to take a position on air conditioning? Because after the inferno that we experienced last week, everybody's thinking about that. Ordinary Europeans across the continent are thinking on whether they should purchase air conditioning to survive the new reality of climate change. So when is the European Commission going to take a position and say whether air conditioning is compatible or incompatible with the green transition that you have envisioned? Thank you.
This is something that we also need to look within our competencies. That how much is the Commission going to be telling citizens what they must or must not do? What we take as a starting point for our policies is obviously where do we want to go? How do we get there in a most efficient and effective way that is in line with our long-term policies on clean transition of our climate goals, etc. But much of these decisions are, of course, for member states to take. But as you pointed out, we've only seen, I mean, we are basically living the climate crisis at the moment. I mean, the last week's inferno was probably just a parting shot for the rest of the summer. So it is not excluded that this also becomes a topic that will be discussed also at political level. And then obviously we will be taking steps as our member states signal. But ultimately, regarding air conditioning units in private households, these are issues where the Commission is not micromanaging how people should be going about this. To remind you that we do have a heat pump strategy, for example. So we do have policies in place that sets about measures and guidelines and recommendations to member states. But ultimately, these decisions on whether something should be done or should not be done is obviously a question of competency and is for the member states.
And the consumer choice. And as you know, what we do address is to make sure that the appliances are as efficient as possible. And there we have legislation, eco-design legislation, promoting the energy efficiency, for instance, of fans, for instance, industrial fans, also air conditioning. That's where we can come in terms of indicating also through legislation how such products can be most energy efficient. Other questions to Anna Kaiser?
I'll add one more thing. We have the electrification action plan coming in a few weeks. So that is something that will look into the barriers and different targeted measures to electrify the heating and cooling system. Because obviously a question we also need to ask that for air conditioning, how is the energy, how is the electricity produced? Where does it come from? How is it produced? So these are issues that, or one aspect that will be also looked into in the electrification action plan, which will be presented very soon.
Thank you, Nakasa. David.
Hi. It might not be your competence, but I was just wondering in terms of the heat wave and predictions, is it next week and whatever, you're saying it's a recurring, obviously something that's not going to go away, especially this summer. But in terms of the loss of life so far, so we've seen figures. Is that something the Commission keeps a tally of, or something that you can compare with previous heat waves, and then economic loss? Can you give figures in terms of that and predictions, if possible? Thanks.
So where we do get information from European Environment Agency as well as Eurostat, who are keeping the tally on economic consequences, etc., and that this is something that importantly feeds into our work as well. But our reporting on, for example, on the progress that is done on climate policies, as well as on the measures taken by member states, etc., follows the UNFCCC, the United Nations Climate Framework cycle, which is the annual cycle of reporting. So we do have a very clear system in place of following up, first of all, what is happening in member states and what measures they are putting in place. But the tally on consequences, like concrete consequences, here we rely also we rely on the input of the European Environment Agency as well as Eurostat.
Yes, David, a follow-up.
Well, yeah. In terms of road deaths, there are clear sort of statistical guidelines in when and where and how. I was just wondering, in terms of deaths from climate change, I mean, for instance, people drowning, are there guidelines or ways that the statistics are made up? Thanks.
I'll ask Eva to join us, and today we are lucky to have 3 lecterns. Don't go away, Anna Kaiser, to just make sure that we answer all climate, environment, energy questions. Eva, from a preparedness point of view and climate preparedness point of view, and also impacts on health,
yes.
What else can we add?
Thank you. What I can say from the health and preparedness perspective, you know that we have our preparedness union strategy that aims to equip and give advice to the member states, and obviously climate change is also part of the strategy. We don't prepare only for natural disasters in terms of earthquake or storms, whatever, but also for the heat wave. And it's up to the member states to approach this issue and to prepare the situation and the equipment accordingly. In case, if necessary, from the preparedness point of view, we are here with our European Civil Protection Mechanism that can be activated. Also, due to this, we can have some outages, for example, so we are ready to help when we are requested. I can say that up till now, this season, we haven't had any activation due to the heat wave or due to anything what is related to the weather. As from the health perspective, you probably know that health sector and resilience of the health sector, this is in the hands of the member states. We have seen issues, for example, last week in hospitals around Europe. So it's up for the member states to equip the hospitals properly, but it doesn't mean that we don't do anything because we are trying and we take actions, for example, in terms of vector-borne diseases, because with the climate change, also the biotopes of the insects may change, which means that it can bring some different insects into Europe. So we already have medical countermeasures. It means that we are developing vaccines against these diseases, and we have this kind of preparedness in case it is necessary. Same for the antibiotics. We are also bringing innovation into this sector, developing new antibiotics, so we don't take this health preparedness only from the perspective of humans, but we also focus on animals and on the whole environment.
Good. With this tandem, let's see if there are any further questions to Anna Kaiser. I have Max Ramsey online.
It's heatwave related, but it's agriculture, so it may be for Louise.
Okay, Max, I'll come back to you. No further questions. Yes, Ashi. Sorry, I didn't see you before.